It's slightly colder today. I've donned the cardigan. I can tell I'm getting older when cardigans become your jumper of choice. But anyway, coming onto the autumnal side of the year, we're going to start looking at the reds, the cosy reds that we're going to be having throughout the winter period. And what more fuller bodied red than an Amarone, or if it's not an Amarone, an Appassimento wine. Now, we're going to have a quick look into what Appassimento wine is and what makes these wines so lusciously rich and divine. They are absolutely fantastic. So let's go have a little look and have a chat about what exactly Appassimento means and what does that mean for the Amarone that we all love. Come on. So Appassimento, what is it? Well, it translates to withering or fading, okay, and we're referring to the grapes here. Okay, what happens in Appassimento is we pick the grapes off the vine when they are ripe. Okay, we don't leave them on like in some winemaking methods, like in the Sauterre in France. We pick them off when they're ripe. This helps retain the acidity and the ripeness of the grape. And then we dry them out in various ways. Now, we set rules and regulations for like Amarone in the Valpolicella region. There's set standards for this. Now, when we pick the grapes, we have to leave them between 100 and 120 days to dry out. And we have to dry out in what they call the traditional method. Now, this traditional method is on bamboo mats or wooden crates. The traditional is bamboo mats. And they'll have a window either side to allow ventilation of the wind to go through and to help keep control of the mould. Now, mould isn't a bad thing. You know, it's like in cheese, you know, sometimes it adds character to it. And if you find a bit of mould or there's some mould on, the winemaker will still use that. It's a bit like just calling it blue cheese to your friend if it's got a bit mouldy. It's fine. But, you know, this isn't about the mould. This is about the grapes within away naturally in the traditional method. So they want to keep control of that mould. So once we're fully done, you're going to talk about 40% of the wine output than it was before the drying out of the grapes. Okay, so you can imagine this as a winemaker, your yield has gone down an awful lot there. You've lost 60% of your yield. So this is why, one of the reasons why the prices kind of really do soar up to Amarone. Anyway, once we've done this, we then go and make the fermentation, and the resulting wines can either be sweet, or ricotta, which is where they will stop the fermentation early, leaving some residual sugars in there. Or if we let all the sugars convert to alcohol and let the fermentation and process complete, we're going to be left with an Amarone. Now, the style of these wines is rich, raisined, luscious flavours, okay? You imagine it's a bit like giving your kid a little cordial and only putting a dash of water in there. That's kind of the reverse of what's happening. You know, when we're drying away, we're letting the excess water in the grape like almost evaporate and disappear. So you're leaving this concentrated juice, this raisined juice, and that really does reflect in the wine. It's delightful, it's delicious. Okay. Now, when we get to Appassimento grapes, like all Amarone will be Appassimento wine, okay, but not all Appassimento wine is Amarone. Amarone's got to come from a certain region with certain grapes and certain regulations, okay. Appassimento, this one here is still from Veneto, but it's got different grape varieties and it won't be down to the same regulations of how that's done. The drying times will be different and how it's done. Sometimes they will hang the grapes from the ceiling, from the beams, and they can dry out that way. It's a good way to enter the world of that without spending, you know, the greater amount of money on an Amarone. So let's crack this one open and you can see the colour and see me enjoy bloody good wine. Okay, let's do this. Now, excuse my classic old school cork puller here. Just, you know. I just like it because it gives a nice sound. Are you ready? A bit dodgy in my camera, that might look, but there we go. Let's just give that a pull. Okay, so in here we have got Corvina, and it's from Veneto. We've got Malinva and Rondinella in here as well, but it is mainly Corvina. Okay, so you're going to get a very similar type of thing. It's just not going to be quite as intense as you would get in the Amarone, I don't feel. You've got such an intense nose on it, and it's it's just what you want by winter in front of a fire. Honestly, it's incredible. Really rich raisins. You're really getting that dried fruit coming through. It's the wine. You know, I'm saying you just have to be there. I mean, definitely when you're watching wine tasting, it's one of those where you have to be there. But it's, I'm trying to say is you get that intensity, that real rich raisin fruitness coming through. And it's a nice difference than other regular red wines. It really is. Now, you can get a bit of this intensity on other Valpolicella as well. Now, you can get one called ripasso. Now, ripasso means repast, basically. And what we do is we get the skins after making things like Amarone. And we'll repass Valpolicella after the first stage of fermentation. We'll repass it over the skins again and do it all again. So it's like, it means repass, restarting. Okay, so you're redoing it. And what happens is then that wine's going to pick up the extra richness from these skins that are being dried out. So you're going to get a Valpolicella with a bit more oomph, okay, a bit more body. And again, it's just another part on this sliding scale of from these different ranges of wines going up to what we're calling, you know, the king of the Appassimento, the Amarone. Thing to say is, why is it so expensive? Well, as we've discussed, I mean, when you're getting 40% of the wine output from your original grape, that's a big drop in yield. So there's a lot in play here. You've got an added time of drying out, which you've got to add to your, you know, your production timetable. You've got that huge reduction in yield, which you've got to kind of make up for. And you've got these strict, stringent rules and things like Amarone you have to follow. Okay, so this is why the prices are higher. Because, you know, it is fair. And if you're picking up an Amarone, if you're really cheap, then I urge you to try and get one from a reputable supplier. Just because sometimes when people pass things off an Amarone, it's not always the best output. When you're spending your hard-earned money, you want to get that Amarone back. But you should be. That one really delivers. And you'll know when you sip it, you will know. And hopefully you'll absolutely love it. Okay, so this winter, coming to winter now, let's venture out into these wines. Let me know in your feedback. If you find any other belters that are from near you, let me know. And until then, enjoy your wine.